Mystery speaks softly, unanswered questions linger, and the space between what we know and what we feel is explored with care and respect. Tonight's episode is going to be very special. Before we get there, I want to introduce somebody that's also special, who brings balance, discipline, and clarity to everything we do here. My producer here on Darkwoods Paranormal, Ravenite. Well, how you doing tonight?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. Raven's approach keeps this slow, grounded, thoughtful, and intentional, especially when I seem to always drift into the darker territory. Raven, thank you for being here and for guiding us tonight's conversation and making sure we keep on track. I appreciate that. I, of course, am your humble host, Gabriel Von Graves. As always, my role is to walk you into the unknown, not in sensationalize it, but to understand it, to ask questions to engage it. Before we continue, we'd like to take a moment to recognize two locations that understand atmosphere, history, and the weight of lived experience. If you listen to us, you know that we have a fondness of Shaker's Cigar Bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fabulous cigar bar, um, great food. If you're ever in
Oh,
Milwaukee, please stop by. Tell Bob Darkwoods Paranormal sent you. And let's not forget, if you're ever in Ironton, Minnesota, stop by the Hudson House. Wonderful barbecue. In fact, I can still smell it. When we first walked in
so
that
good.
place, it was great. Wasn't it, Raven?
It was so good. Both of those places have the most amazing food. So
It
highly.
is. Stop by and say Gabriel said hi, will ya? Now, tonight's guests. That's right, guests, two of them. We are honored to welcome Search for Spirits, a Minnesota based Christian organization founded in 2012. Search for Spirits is composed of a professional paranormal investigation and healing team, the Search for Sasquatch Cryptid Field Research Group, and the Search for Heaven Ministry. Wonderful, wonderful names. I love those. Their mission is to focus on compassionate, to help individuals and families who are experiencing potentially unknown or distressed conditions, offering investigation, spiritual guidance, cleansing, and recognition when needed. What sets Search for Spirits apart is not only their experience, but their understanding that fear is definitely indeed real. They approach every case with professionalism, empathy, respect, provided follow up, and continue support to help both the living and, when necessary, the departed. They find peace and resolution. Tonight's conversation is not about speculation, it's about understanding, it's about responsibility, and it's about what happens when faith, investigation, and compassion meet in places where answers are not always clear. So, wherever you're, take a deep breath, settle in, and remember curiosity is not fear. Let's begin. Raven, how are you doing?
I am wonderful. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy it's podcast night. It's my favorite nights of the week are podcast nights. And I'm really excited about our guests. So I welcome you guys. Welcome to the show. I met you guys actually in Wabasha.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, we met at the Anderson House Hotel in
Yes.
Wabasha not too long ago, actually. And I watched Russ do his presentation, and I said, "Listen, I think you would be fantastic to come on our show." So, yeah, here we are. So I want to start with the most cliche.
Well, nice. We thank you for having us on.
No, thank you.
Yes,
Now,
of course.
before I want to make it clear, Raven and uh, freezing your butts off. I was in Kansas City, 50 degrees, no snow, green grass, and I didn't miss the snow at all. So I'm sorry I wasn't there to meet. She actually called me up and she said, "Man, I met some cool guys." And I'm like, Raven, listen, I'm enjoying the weather. you know, give
No.
me a text, I'll respond. I'm sorry I got to meet. I'm sorry I got to miss you guys, but tell us about yourselves.
Yeah, I'm like the most cliche question ever, but he said, "Tell us about yourselves." But I would like let's dig a little
That's
deeper.
all right. That's all right.
How did you get
Well,
started?
like I say, we both kind of had similar storylines going back to when we were children. I'll let him tell his. But I was around the age of 8 when I started having, I identified I was having some very unusual dreams. And I had them throughout my life, along with some strange experiences. And looking back as I got older, I realized that I was dreaming that deceased dead people were coming into my dreams and communicating. And that's kind of what drove me through many years of just standard life into a life of the paranormal, because it was something that my calling had been there all along. I just didn't know it or understand it for many years till more recently.
And like Russ said, I had similar things. Growing up, I saw spirits. I had things standing in my doorway. Um, just had a lot of supernatural experiences, and the thing that kind of drove me towards this life, I guess, is I read this newspaper, and it happened in this town, and it was a year after this team had gone in to a house, and basically the team told the owners of the house, "Hey, you got 13 spirits, and you have a burial ground under your house," and then they left. So a year later, these poor people are still haunted, and I'm like, I don't feel good about that, and I want to help. So eventually, a friend of ours, a mutual friend, said, "Hey, Russ, you need to get together with Mark because you guys like have the same kind of stories, the same kind of like passion about it." And we got together, and we've been doing it ever since.
That's cool.
Yeah, the essence was we got together as a team and we're like, we want to have a goal of helping every family that we enter, every client that we go into their house or business. We wanted resolution, and not just resolution for the family, we wanted reconciliation for the energy that was there, whether it be a spirit or whatever it might be.
I love that approach, man. You don't hear that too often. So you're not only trying to help the family, you're trying to resolve whatever is there. And that's actually a very unique perspective. Quite honestly, it's the first time that I've actually heard somebody respond like that. That's phenomenal. Thank you for that.
And I want to say too, like that is more than like I've always wondered why people who do these things like go in and I mean we like to investigate as well, but why people go in and then they just they get their evidence and they leave, but nobody seems to be trying to help the spirits. So I love that. I love that coming from you guys. So I just wanted to point that out.
Well, thank you. And I mean, it didn't just, I mean, we had a goal in mind, but we were consistently hearing in the EVPs from the many locations we were going to that a lot of them felt stuck
Hmm.
or they felt held back because of something that happened in their life, and they needed a little guidance. They needed some lifting of their light to get them ready to process and to cross.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, if I mind asking you guys, just going from you guys' name, I'm assuming you guys approach things more of a spiritual way when it comes to religion, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
Fantastic. So, my question.
definitely. We definitely have that angle of we're both Christians, and we're probably one of the few teams out there that actually up front just says, "Hey, we're a Christian team. That's what we do," and that's where we stand.
That's awesome, man. Well, you're in good company, I assure you. So my question, which I personally deal with as well, how do you explain that? We're taught in Sunday school, right? I went to Sunday school. You guys must have. I'm assuming Raven did as well.
I did.
They teach you that you die, you rise again when the trumpets blast, right? Dear Lord calls us in to join an army to go against the evil. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, how do we explain what a spirit is? What's left over? How do we explain the thing that didn't pass? Purgatory? I mean, is that what we're saying? I mean, if we look at
Well,
the
there.
Catholic side,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I look at it from a lot of different angles. From the study, we've both studied multiple denominations and religions and different things like that. And the emphasis is on there's an element of spirit. It's a spirit of energy that continues on, and that spirit, despite there's a lot of different beliefs out there, that spirit can be affected by a lot of different things at the time of its death. There can be a lot of different scenarios there, more than people I think realize, that might affect how that spirit is going to move. And if the spirit is a spirit that has like no faith, they might be a little bit slower to move towards the light. Or if they're a spirit with fear, that fear might kind of hold them down, like almost like a weight. Like they're just the fear. And some of them, this is my personal belief, they literally will try to ground themselves to something that keeps them from crossing over. And there's no doubt that we've run into that. Where I just had a case the other day where one of the fellas that was there, he says, "I suppose I'm going to have to drop these emeralds." That's exactly what he said. I mean, he was hanging on to some type of stones or something, and that kind of kept him grounded and kept him from rising. "I suppose I'm going to have to drop these emeralds."
And I have a thought too. So in scriptures, one of the big stories is Jesus walking on water.
yes,
And so he's walking out to the boat, they're fishing, and he freaked him out. They thought he was a ghost.
yeah,
And when he got into the boat, Jesus got in the boat, he didn't say, you guys are idiots for thinking I'm a ghost. It was a different conversation.
Yeah.
So he never said, hey, there's no such a thing. So I just think that's interesting, how it's addressed like that. And then when he died, the temple curtain ripped, people rose from the dead. I mean, so there's a lot more going on than, just straightforward, we die, we go nowhere until it's time to go. I think, anyways.
and I'm inclined to agree with you. So what I was taught in Sunday school is contrast to what I have lived through experience. So I bounce the question back to you guys. What is it? Is it people don't cross because you do feel that they have something that they're still trying to accomplish? You talked about fear. Do you think it's fear, so they don't go to light because of fear, or do you think it's the unknown that scares them the most? That's why they want to cross. Because people are drawn to familiarity, right? So if you're
Boy,
familiar, go ahead.
I got to say a lot, I really feel like just from experience, there's a lot of different things that keep them back. It could be a traumatic situation. They're just ripped out of life and they're stuck. Russ mentioned their faith, the fear. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons why they stick around, and we encounter them. We're never going to know 100% for sure, but
But they'll tell us little tidbits during the investigation. And, a trauma one might be EVP we got the other day. I drowned in this secret pool. I drowned in a pool, and, it was a traumatic situation. There's some confusion there. Doesn't quite hit the window. And once they don't cross, it takes somebody to tell them to cross. Unless they coincidentally get into a situation where they're with another spirit that crosses, and that's just theory. But the essence is it takes somebody to tell them, hey, you can cross now, cross over.
Absolutely.
And I don't know why that is. I can't explain that. But I know that to be nearly a fact because they a lot of times they're waiting just for us or for somebody to tell them, hey, you could cross over. Go ahead and cross and say a short prayer. Whatever it is. Some are a lot more distressed than others. I mean, there's just so many variables there. It's really hard to pin down into a small sentence.
And they're
Right.
asking for help
Yeah.
even before we get there sometimes.
Yeah.
And
I was
that's
Love
gonna
that.
say like it when you'll have that when somebody's about to pass, right? Like family members will actually like give them permission so that they can pass. So that makes some sense. Like let's say somebody passes and they don't have that like it's okay to pass like thing from somebody that they love, or it's sudden, like that would make sense. Like they're still waiting maybe for that. It's okay to go. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Do you
that
think
makes
that
sense
at
as
the
well.
same
Yes.
time, have you guys ever heard any voices from hell itself, or is it always people that are stuck in between?
I've heard voices from all three: heaven, hell, and whatever realm that they exist in before they cross over.
Can you expand on that? Like, first, of course, I'm very curious, being a Christian man myself. Um, Voices from heaven, and then voices from hell. Because I think if you're going to believe in one, you have to believe in the other. And then some of the voices, the more unique voices that you heard it from the in between.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, I literally heard a spirit say, "We're in hell." Yeah. I
Oh,
mean, and that's the easiest way I can say it. I've heard them say it, you know, and that to me is more than enough to. I don't need to hear a whole lot more, you know, when they tell you that directly, and why somehow they can communicate out of that scenario. Like I say, I don't have all the know. I hopefully know all that when I die someday. I think we'll obtain a lot of that knowledge. But when they're in heaven, we've heard where like family. We've actually called family from heaven to help a loved one cross that is hasn't crossed over yet, and we'll say, hey, any family for this person, if you can call down and try to encourage your loved one to cross, you know. And we've actually picked that up. You can actually pick it up in, occasionally in EVPs. And
Fantastic.
you'll hear them calling out or saying something to their family members, saying, hey, why don't you just come on, you know? And so some of them need a little bit of convincing. It ain't all a perfect system. There's a share of them that need some convincing, and there's a share of them that are so disgruntled just in life that it's very hard to convince, if ever. Some of them might not be convinced, and we just have to move them off and out because life is what life is, I guess.
That's cool. Have you guys ever asked how it is in heaven? I mean, do you guys ever have conversations about people that you're talking to, or do you get just the receiving side where they're talking to you guys?
We don't generally ask questions.
Okay.
Like I say, when you talk biblically, asking about what's in the future, or I don't reach out into those different areas. I just focus with the spirits directly at hand.
That's fantastic. What is the most unique situation you guys have found yourself in when it comes to the paranormal?
probably.
Well, I mean, I think one of the interesting cases is probably our first, and we mentioned this one a lot, but our first interaction with the demonic entity was very eye opening for both of us. I don't think my heart's ever beat so much in my whole life. Um, and it was a tough case. There was some knives flying around,
Oh, geez.
windows breaking. I mean, it was a rough case, and it was like one of our
It was
first.
it was quite a fight, is what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
How do you
that was
win a
probably
fight
one
like
of
that?
our.
lots of prayer, and it wasn't just our prayer. It was amazing that supernaturally we're not working alone. We're working with the saints. We're working with holy angels and holy guides. We're working with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We're there at this case that night, and out of the blue, three religious ladies who have no idea we're even going to be at this house show up at the gate of this house asking if they can help. And we ran into them. We're like, all I can say is don't come in here because there's knives flying around. Stand out here on the driveway here and say as many prayers as you can. But what's the chance that three ladies show up ready to pray without knowing that any of this is going on?
Wow.
That's a supernatural effect that it all starts coming together. And so it ain't just us. I mean, there is a whole element that is out there working with us.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, what is the? I mean, so have you guys ever encountered an angel? I know you said you call on the help of saints and stuff. Have you guys ever seen an angel?
But
Unless it's in human form.
yeah,
We had maybe some thoughts, but never sure.
not on the case specifically,
Mhm.
but I had an out of body experience where I was wide awake in bed and I was drugged to a location and and I met what I assume was my guardian or one of my guardian angels, and he had a little talk with me because I wasn't quite straight, and he pulled me in, and I was in this room, and he points at right at like my belly, and he says, "God is with you." He says, "But you need to do a lot more thinking about." And suddenly he was holding this like ball, and in the ball I could see like heaven, like a large golden castle. And he says, "You need to think a lot more about this, and a lot less about what's down here." That was his message for me, and that stuck with me ever since then. I'll never let that go.
That's a good message. And for kids
So,
that are listening, that's a good message
yeah.
to remember that one. That's
Wow, that's
fantastic.
incredible. What I want to ask you, like, when you say that you've helped people cross over, what is the
Mhm.
process of that? Like, how do you go into a space and then, besides, I guess, telling them that it's okay, is there something else that you do to help them cross?
It's a good question.
Well, every situation is kind of client specific. A
Mhm.
lot depends on the family. What where's this family at as far as its foundations and its protections? Where are they at? What is family the best protections and grounding so that they move on in a good direction after we walk out the door, because that's what keeps bad things from keeping coming into their house and into their lives if they can protect themselves. And so,
Absolutely.
but so every family, how we acknowledge the family that we're working with is one big way that we got to decide. And then it depends on the type of spirit. There's numerous types of spirits.
Mhm.
Not that there are different types per se, like animals, but they are in different kind of realm. They have different levels of energy and stuff, and so we have to dial in on what kind of spirit we're dealing with, and where is the spirit at as well when it comes to faith and repentance. And are they ready to cross right this minute? There's always a lot of them that are just waiting, and they're waiting for somebody to come. And there's some that like, don't you dare, There's some that are just distraught.
And
They're
yeah,
stuck and angry, and they are humans just in invisible form. That's the non, and they have all the different variations of a human, and because they're still who they are,
Mhm.
and so we don't know who we're dealing with till we get in there and investigate a little bit.
and that's why it's an investigation, because we're going in and establishing what's there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we deal with whatever is there. Whether if it's dark, then we deal with it right away, and then we do a like a crossover clearing, at some point.
Yeah, because we used to wait till the very end, and just be like, okay, so what did we all come up with? But we've changed that in the last 2 years or so. If we run into any dark energy, we immediately go right after it and get that dark energy out of the way. That's very essential to the investigation and to the crossing of the spirits, that we remove whatever is courting them or holding them back. And if you have a demonic entity, he kind of acts like the boss, and he don't let them do anything. You have to separate that energy.
He's kind of a collector
Yes, and
of sorts.
you gotta break that apart, and that's what helps you then to get them spirits moving. And he's got to be gone. You got to get him carried out of there.
So if you once you
So
remove that roadblock, the entity, the evil that entity, where does that entity go? Where do you send it to? Does it go to heaven? Does it go back to hell? Does it just go in a different location? Where do you send that entity to?
well, that is not ours to choose. I guess that is the will of God, and that's some of the words that we use. We're like, in a lot of cases, we do call on Archangel Michael, the
That's
saint,
true.
and we're like, will you bring in warrior angels and retrieve this demon or this very unclean, angry spirit? And if it's an unclean spirit, reconcile it at the foot of the cross. If it's demonic, you take care of it according to the will of God, whether it be to the place of gnashing of teeth, or wherever God, wherever you decide, because it may be different for them based on where we're at in life. It's not always going to remain as it comes based. So it's really hard. I can't write it down on a piece of paper, because every case is different based on so many scenarios.
Wow.
That's a decent response. I respect that.
No, that's really interesting.
So you guys also research Bigfoot. W- just recently, gentlemen, did I start believing in that hairy man? You know what I'm saying? It's been a
Listen,
long
I think
time.
that we
I
should
keep on
tell them.
denying that. So
We
tell
should
me a
tell them
little
the
bit
story,
about your
Gabriel.
tell me a little bit about your research in the feet that are big.
You want to tell a story?
Tell me
Yeah,
the
so
story.
I mean, I guess for us it kind of came as a like a little like side venture off of this. We're already equipped as paranormal investigators,
Mhm.
and we like being out in the woods, and it just blends so nicely together. So for years we starting to get interested in the cryptid field, and um, we've had some really good experiences. I have a couple really favorite ones. One of my favorites is we were driving in one of our areas, and I heard a growl or a grunt, and I'm like, Russ, stop the truck. So he did, and Russ went up the road to look for footprints because
Mhm.
we're looking to cast footprints and stuff. And I was standing by the truck, and I could hear it. I couldn't see it, but I could hear it, and it was doing that shifting. Like if you stand in place, you shift your feet,
Mhm.
and branches cracking, and it sounded like a pretty big thing. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but it started soft knocking at me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what it's saying, but I'm going to knock back. So we got these beautiful ash sticks in the truck that we happened on, and they sound perfect. So I was soft knocking back. It was knocking to me. I was knocking back. Not sure what we were saying to each other, but I didn't tick it off at least. I mean, that's perfect. But Russ
Okay.
came up and he got to see that, the thing knocking, me knocking, and then finally got bored with us and walked off. And it sounded big. Um, my regret, but I probably shouldn't be doing that anyways, was going into the woods to see if I could find it. But uh, I didn't. I figured he'd probably throw me back out, and I wouldn't live to
So,
tell the tale. But
Mark, you're like me.
It's really
I
about
always,
respect, though.
I was gonna say he's like me. I always go into basements.
Go ahead.
Like it's a thing. It's a total. I just wander off. Like we'll be on an investigation, and I'm just wandering off by myself, which we know is not a great idea. But here I am in a basement. Meanwhile, Gabriel's up with a bunch of other
That's my
people
favorite
or
thing.
something. Yeah.
So since you guys are
Yeah, I
Minnesota
like that.
based, is this in Minnesota that you guys go Bigfoot hunting?
Primarily.
Primarily, I mean, I travel, share, and I have a travel van, and my spouse and I we travel, and so we've driven out to the Patterson Gimlin site where that
Uh-huh.
most popular video is. We've actually gone out to that location, and we've been to a number of other states where I have had cryptid experiences. I'll just give you an example, and I'm going to choose a different one because
Yeah.
we had a couple radio shows lately, and I hate to repeat the same stories. So I'm going to tell this one. This one was in the Badlands.
Oh.
Badlands, Black Hills, and a lot of people when they go out there, they like to hit the popular towns, Deadwood, and
Mhm.
they're sitting in the hotel. And from a cryptid paranormal perspective, I was thinking about it. I'm like, a lot more people were killed out on the gold claims. So we took a trail going out to the gold claims and spent the night out by the gold claims where some of them were, because I figured there'd be a lot more spirit interaction in that area.
Nice.
And so get out there, and I set up my audio and stuff. I have audio going, where recording wherever I go. And so then I kind of just nestled down for bed. I opened the window right by my ear there, where I sleep, and I'm listening. And it's about midnight. I'm dozing off, and I hear a winged creature come over the top of the van. This thing's not small. It literally almost makes the van shake. It comes over once, and then it comes over a second time, and I'm wide awake like this. I'm like, what in the world what am I experiencing right now? I'm trying to dial in with my sensitivities the best I can. And suddenly I just flow right into a vision. And in the vision, I'm sitting right outside the van in the grass. And I'm just sitting kind of just on my knees. And sitting directly across me was a Sasquatch, and it was a female. And she was like doing things with her hands. And I'm like, oh, I don't understand what that means. I mean, I'm like just watching her, and she's making these signals, and I couldn't dial in on it, you know. And it wasn't long lived, and I felt bad because maybe if I would have understand what they were trying to tell me, we would have had a little bit more of a communication, and it would have extended. But then it just kind of went away. Then after that, but I mean, and I was not sleeping at any point. I just went full blown into a vision, and all of a sudden I'm 10 feet away, but just weird. I don't know.
Do you think she was trying to communicate through sign language? I mean, do you think that's what it was?
It was definitely a form of sign language. Um, it makes me want to learn more about sign language.
Right.
And
Right.
we've ran into a lot. Like you hear about the knocking.
Hmm.
We've been out camping out in the middle of the woods, and things are knocking like on the table we have outside or on the side of the, and we've mentioned maybe we should know more about, you know, other types of languages that might be spoken,
Right.
and of course it's a matter of time. Where do you find the time to do it all? But
Yeah.
Sure.
It's true.
It's like Morse code, like, maybe that's what
yeah,
they're
Morse
doing.
code.
Yeah,
But there
learn all
have
that.
been a number of other times where some will communicate straight up telepathically, and that comes through in English. You know,
Yeah,
so that
Absolutely.
happens in a form of language I'm familiar with. One of the very first telepathic incidences I had, that was in northern Minnesota, and it was one of the younger of the family of one of the clients up there, and they were asking me, what do you think? You know, there's a lot of talk, let's say, amongst the large force people about them being coming out more, you know, and they asked what my thought was, and I just was honest with the moment, with the truth that I know, and I said never. I said I wouldn't ever do it. I said because I mean just take a look. I mean you can't. It's hard to know what you trust. Um,
Yeah.
we're in a messy, very messy life. I said, I feel you're much better off. And I said, honestly, if I had to tell you the truth, and it hurts me to say this to you, I said, but don't even trust me. And that was my response to her.
Well, that's a very honest response. What other
I think
cryptids
actually,
are
wait,
you
Gabriel,
have you guys oh go sorry
yeah,
about that, Rafe.
no, I wanted to throw something in there.
Yeah.
Russ is actually the reason why we have not found Bigfoot. He just admitted it.
Well, thank you,
He's
Russ.
the reason.
That's great, man.
He just seems so Bigfoot. Listen, it's not safe to come out of the trees. Stay where you are. You don't want to be here. So Russ is the
Kind of a killjoy there, my friend. I'm just saying.
I know. It is what it is.
So
All
other
right,
than
Gabriel,
Bigfoot,
go
other than
Bigfoot or
Bigfoot, what other
something.
cryptozoology have you guys spent time researching or experiencing?
One thing I'm kind of interested in is the stories of the creatures in the lakes.
Oh,
So like
Oh,
Pepin
yes.
has one.
yep,
Peppy.
There's a Vermilion Lake that has one.
yep.
Yeah, there's Peppy, there's Vermi, there's Cross Lake supposedly has a serpent. Like those are interesting to me now, and we really haven't spent a lot of time floating around looking for them. But
We've talked about taking a trip down to Lake Pepin and spending a weekend down there and just camping on the shore.
yeah,
And just because a lot of times as we found when we go to a location where there's cryptids, we almost always run into spirits there as well.
hmm
Almost 99% of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And the interesting thing is, spirits, if you ask them, they'll guide you, they'll tell you a little bit, what's there in the area and stuff. So you can actually, utilize the spirit. So is there any, and they'll utilize the terms that they're familiar with. They might use words like monkey or gorilla or hairy man and different, they use whatever that they grew up thinking of it. But you just kind of go with the flow. And they'll, not that I ask outright because I try not to get into that part of it too much. But they'll let it out if there's something going on in the area. They'll be like, they'll know why we're there. We're not hiding anything.
That's fantastic. Do you think that there are parallel universes that in at some moments that allow us to access the other side, see like cryptozoology? Do you think that there's an aspect that they cross over? They're actually on this plane.
it's possible. I mean,
It's like the
it's a
best
theory
answer I've
that
ever
I
heard.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, because our experiences. I mean, like one thing Russ mentioned was these loud pops,
Yeah.
like they're coming in and out of things.
Right.
Not just rock
Yeah.
knocks, tree knocks, but so nailed that one down.
Mm-hmm.
But,
In perspective, I don't just
like
cross
yeah, so
spirits over at cases. I cross them over several nights a week. So this is not something where I have to go somewhere to do it. They'll come to me
Oh.
right in bed at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It don't matter. When somebody comes, they come and they look for help. And sometimes I got to talk to them because they got situations. But to be honest with you, and I'll just specifically talk about one case. We were up in Reamer, Minnesota, and we do the Reamer event up there, the annual
Yep.
festival. And during that festival, I pick one night, and I either go out there all by myself, or Mark will come with me, very vulnerable, driving out to the middle and just
Mhm.
soaking in and meditating in the energy that's there. And one of the, probably about 3 years ago, I was up there and I was all by myself. And I was there, and it started getting late, and I said, well, let's just cross some of the spirits over. I could just tell there was some spirits there. So I asked them if they would not cross over so I could get my energy focused on the Sasquatch that were in the area. And you know, and they know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, like I said, you're not fooling anybody that's crossed over. You know exactly what you're doing and why and what. And so as soon as that happened, I went into that kind of telepathic meditation, and immediately I saw the whole family, and there was about 8 of them, and 7 of them were just standing in a group, and one of them was kind of down on a knee and all bent over. And I mean, this picture only lasts for a very short period of time,
Right.
but I asked right away. I said, "What happened? What's the matter with that one?" And they told me telepathically, straight up. They said that one was shot by a snowmobiler.
Oh,
And I
geez.
said, "That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible." Um, I said, "What do you want me to do?" Because there's a reason. They don't show themselves for nothing.
Right.
So I was like, "What do you want me to pray?" Well, there was a little series of events in there, and in the end, you know, I prayed, if the forest people have souls, they should have the opportunity to cross too.
Absolutely.
And as far as I'm concerned, that one, that one for sure, and maybe one other one, have crossed over
Wow.
through the process of crossovers that we do. So
Wow.
that's kind of where that story goes.
That's actually very cool, Russ. Thank you. So this is for you, our Mark. We've noticed whenever there's paranormal experience, whether it be um, in the forest or even in a house, there's always an element that we associate to aliens, right? UFOs, because they're seen around a lot of the areas that this stuff happens at. Have
Mhm.
you guys had any experience with UFOs?
Kind of. I mean, we've had unexplainable lights in the
Hmm.
forest where there shouldn't be any cars. Um, Never seen a alien, but there's just been some odd happenings.
Yeah. I can't say it specifically happened in a lot of cases. We have picked up EVPs where they have talked about a ship.
Oh,
We just had one the
Wow.
other day that they talked about having a helmet. I'm like, well, who's got a helmet? But we've had a lot of EVPs about ships over the
Mm.
years, and that's not uncommon. Um, the same way that I dream about, say, the Sasquatch and the spirits and stuff, I also have the dreams with the aliens. I mean, I can't validate any of that. I mean, they're dreams, but
Mhm.
I
right.
know going back to when I was 8, I've had such dreams, and but directly related to cases, I don't think we've had anything directly related to a case that we're like, oh, this is directly related to an alien or something. Not really.
And there's been some cases we go to where they're supposed to be present,
Yeah.
but we don't run into them, or we haven't run into them.
Russ, when you have these dreams, um, do have you ever been on a alien ship? Can you, and if you have, can you, even if you haven't, can you describe aliens to us at all? I mean, is there a different feeling when you're there speaking to an alien? Is it just like speaking to any other force that you're just trying to cross over? I mean, what's the association, do you think?
Well, in the dreams, the ships that I've been on, um, one was a circular ship. You know, the round one that you often see, it was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we climbed in, we all had to lay like on our stomach, like you're laying,
Right.
and we were all laying like around in the circle. The ones that were in there, we all were laying flat, like on our bellies. And but the best memory of one that really stands out in my head was I supposedly was on it was like a mothership, and it's a giant ship. They really, I thought, you know, we experienced one going over the top of us once. We had this wind, heavy wind, just come right over the top of the trees right above us. You can hear it. You can't see nothing, but you hear
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And we're talking like I don't know if it was a football field, but you know, say 50 yards wide, you know, a circle, humming and moving right over top of us, and all the leaves are blowing above our heads.
Mm-hmm.
But in that one, um, it was all humans in there in
Like
the
hybrids
mothership,
or like human
and
humans?
they had like humans.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
the interesting thing is, you mentioned a little while ago. You talked briefly about, you know, like whether it be dimensions or realms.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The question is it possible that when a major traumatic thing happens in your life, is it possible that you might split off and
Absolutely. That's
suddenly you
very,
have
very
a
good.
Yeah.
second
Very good.
dimension?
Very good. Yeah.
And is it possible that now that person I was at that moment, looking back at it, I'm on a mothership with the people about the time that that happened? And in the mothership, there was even like 2 or 3 layers, and on the main layer, there was actually like a small town, like it looked familiar, like a small town with all of us with little shops and stuff in it. But we were all placed in manners and separated in certain ways on the ship, you know. And for instance, and this sounds probably kind of crazy,
Not at
but
all.
most of the people with the blonde hair, all the blonde hair people had one side of the ship, and all the more darker hair people had another side. I mean, I don't know, but it was so real. I mean, it's like me talking to you right now, if not realer. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know, and I guess that's why Mark and I and you too, and we all do this, because there's an endless amount of a growing universe that is ever expanding and ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never catch up,
No.
but it's fun to be there.
It's fun. Right.
It's fun to try.
Well, that's
Love
very
that.
cool.
Love that. Do you guys, so you kind of touched a little bit, like, you know, the idea of if there's a traumatic event. I have to ask, Gabriel and I think you might have heard it when I did the presentation in Wabasha, but the one of the theories we kind of stumbled up, or I guess had, was that people that have had near death experiences are also able to connect a
Mm.
little bit more with the other side. Do you guys, have either of you guys ever had a near death experience, and or do you believe that that is a possibility?
I was kind of near. So recently, I was sort of near that, and I've noticed a little bit of changes, but I'm still. I mean, I was sensitive before that. You know, I didn't
Sure.
have anything traumatic happen to me before, but yeah, I feel like I was fine tuned a little bit more after that. Um,
I think we use this a lot. The question comes up a lot, like how do we picture it? And I use the same example almost every time. Imagine an equalizer, like you use for music, with all
Yeah.
those
Hmm.
little sliders on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every one of those slides is a human being. We're all a human being, and we each are a slide. Anytime something traumatic happens in your life, or maybe you have some type of encounter. It might be an encounter with a cryptid. You might have had a ghost in your house. This. All these little things cause your little slider to move up just a little bit more and more, And so, depending upon all these different factors, depends upon how high up on the slider, how sensitive you become. Now, some of us, I don't ever claim to name myself by any type of sensitivity. I just call it all sensitivities. But some people have different angles to the gifts, when it comes to seeing, hearing, and etc. But I
Yeah.
refer to it all as sensitivities, and that's just the way it is.
So, Mark, if you don't mind me asking, you said you've always been sensitive. Can you explain that? I've always been sensitive too, and I always have a hard time, vocalizing it. What does that mean? Well, I just feel things, right? It's really hard for me to actually put into words. For you, sir, when you think yourself as a sensitive, what is that?
So, going back to when I was a kid and experiencing and seeing things, I guess I never faded away. And as I got older, I got more interested in it. And so the sensitivities then is seeing the spirits. They'll touch me. You can hear them, sense them, and I just feel that gets more and more. Well, it expands as you get more experience, obviously.
Right.
Um, and then also some of the events we're talking about, you know. Um, but yeah, I think over the years it just gets. We've done this a lot now, and it just gets better and better
So, for
and more
anonymity,
interesting.
when we spoke, me and you are from the same small town, and I know that being
Hmm.
from that town, a lot of my experience as a child, I think, was rooted in a lot of some of the turmoil that happened there, being native ground, that and being close to a water source, and the limestone, all that. So, what elements do you think has to be put in place? Do you think that allows this kind of activity to happen, for things to either cross over to a different dimension that that you guys are able to sense and push? So, do you think that the area that you guys are in, you sense more?
I think it's wherever we're at. I mean, wherever we're called to go, wherever we are at, that's we just bring it with us. I like to tell people because they're like, well, how does it even work? You know, I'm like, think about it as a door to your house. This is how I think about it. When I'm just doing my everyday stuff, I leave it like cracked because if something happens, I want to sense it. Um, but I don't want the clamor. So when I'm at a investigation, I just throw the door open and just let it come. Basically, just let it inundate me. So that's kind of how I look at things. Sorry, but that's how I look at things. Like for me, that's how I approach it mentally. Is that um, I treat it like a door, and I kind of regulate it mentally.
Russ, do you treat it like a door too? Do you have to go through some kind of a mental trance? Are you able just to adjust yourself to receive those kind of messages?
Well, I think because I do it a lot at night,
Hmm.
and that reception is there.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not nightly, but I mean, it happens enough to where I maintain the sensitivity level at a little higher level all the time. And like say for instance, this weekend we're having a team event up way up in northern Minnesota there, and I'm getting the members together, which we only bring 3 people to a house. We keep it very small,
Hmm.
and we have a lot of people that work with us, and we bring them together not only to learn the equipment, but we want them to practice their sensitivities, doing meditations or whatever,
And then work together.
and then
Yeah.
work together and camaraderie and new equipment. And so we like to have these at least 3 events a year just for them to keeping that sensitivity up. I can tell Mark and we might go a whole month without a case. October, I think we had like six,
I
seven,
think so.
seven cases in October,
Wow.
and we didn't have any in November. So you go from 7 to 0, and then and December 2, or and we just bounce around, um, and so we too have to kind of. It's not it is like riding a bike, but it ain't at the same time. I mean, we know what it feels when we get it, but it is a practice thing too. The meditation is a lot of work if you're not
It's,
accustomed to it.
it is
Absolutely.
a lot of work. It's hard to shut that brain off. I want to ask you, you're talking
Yeah.
about like kind of helping people like get to their or find their sensitivities and those kinds of things. For people who are listening or watching, can you give any advice on how they could do that if they were ever interested in trying to, like build that part of themselves?
To build meditation, I tell you what, I'll tell you how I did it. Like I say, we're all different, and I'm just telling you my testimony. The very first time I really got serious about meditating, I went into a basement of a church, quiet as a mouse down there, and I
Mhm.
sat down there, and I just said, I'm going to try this meditation and prayer thing a little bit. God, I need your help. And I'm just gonna sit here and shut my mouth and try to shut my brain off. And like I say, that's hard business, shutting your brain off.
It is.
But I started there by asking God to guide me, asking Christ to guide me into this meditation. And this is many years ago now. But that's how I started.
And I would say, as far as gaining sensitivities, also it's there would be safe ways to approach it and unsafe ways.
Mm.
So it's probably part of its motivation. What are you going to do with it? But I really think increasing your sensitivities all has to do with experience, um, and learning, knowledge.
Just like our K2.
Yeah.
Tell
So we had this K2. It was when the K2s started coming out. They were big, and
Mhm.
we're like, oh, this is cool. Time after nothing, it would never go off. The millimeters were working. We knew things were there. That stupid K2, but we never gave up on it.
Yeah.
And we were sitting at this investigation, a lot of stuff going on there, and all of a sudden it woke up. It's like you had to immerse it to make it work. Not all equipment works like that, but this K2, and so that's just like a human, you know, as you do that more and more, and you're immersed in it, then you just get better and better, I think.
And that's what we tell people. We get asked the question, well, what if I want to be a paranormal investigator? And that's what we ask them. We say, well, hey, what's your intent? I
Right.
mean, is it just a joyride? Is it you want to help people? I mean, what's your intent? And know that there's a lot of important things to consider. That foundation and grounding and protections that we talked about, but also you have to know and understand that if you get into the field, at some point you are going to cross a line. It's an invisible line. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know when that line is going to appear, but when you cross that line, you don't go back. You don't go
Mm-hmm.
back anymore. You can't even make a choice. Once you've crossed a certain point, you're in that field forever.
Mm.
That's the way I feel
Mhm.
about it.
And one thing I like to caution too is when people just first start getting into it, people will ask those that they know are in the paranormal field to come to their house. If I would caution them not to go and just investigate a house that's having a problem
Mm-hmm.
because you're not helping the person. We talked about that earlier, and I think it can cause more harm than it's actually worth. If they're going, I call it recreational investigating, like we did Wabasha. That's
Mhm.
fun. Getting together with like-minded people,
Yeah, we had a blast.
investigating this great place. I love that. And so if they're going to do that, there's going to be less harm caused to other people, maybe to them. Like he said, if they're not grounded. But
All right.
I just say don't go into homes where people need help. If you don't, if you're going to learn and do it, that's fine. But
We've had our share of cases where we've had to go into the homes of investigators or people who have been involved somehow in the supernatural, whether it be utilizing other types of tools, the pendulum or this. We had a whole case with a lady that used a pendulum, and things just got out of hand. Good intent just got out of hand on her, and so it's we have no shortage of cases of people who are actually investigators who have brought something home or have affected themselves.
Absolutely, and that's phenomenal that you're bringing that point up. What is your favorite instrument? And do you think that there are instruments that people should stay away? For me, if somebody asked me this question, and you can respond how you want to, I I, I would say anything that you're trying to use to contact the dead. You know, whether it be a Ouija board, I stay away from those. What instruments do you find works best for you guys, and what do you caution people to stay away from?
Our home cases, we almost completely use two instruments. Well, three:
Ourselves.
ourselves,
Hmm.
the millimeter, and an audio recorder. We could do a whole case with those things. And
Yep.
I'll
Hmm.
add the fourth one, and probably the most important one is the crucifix.
Right. And I would say the faith that goes behind that
Stay
crucifix.
away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you have to have the whole.
And
What do you
Mark, what
think
do you
about
say?
stayaways?
Well,
Yeah, the
like you
stayaways.
said,
Yeah.
well, I was just gonna say, I agree with you. Stay away from the Ouija boards, and um, there's so many different ways to contact spirits. Like, I'm not even gonna mention them all, but yeah, they should just, yeah, communicating through those are dangerous.
We've had an unhealthy share of tarot card cases.
Oh yeah.
I'm not like I'm not going to use them, and we've had a number of cases. I'm not here, like I say, I'm not here tonight to tell everybody how to do their business. I'm just giving you the testimony as we've experienced it.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people get into things and don't understand the processes of closing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Closing, a session is so important, and knowing the proper way to close it. And if you're not, you could be leaving little tiny portholes everywhere, really,
And taking stuff home with you.
and taking stuff home. Cutting cords
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
closing sessions.
Well, I thank you guys for your time. It's been great talking to you. How do people reach out to you? How do people get a hold of you?
Well, they can, we have the web pages. Search for Spirit, Search for Sasquatch, and Search for Heaven are all on the same rustvictorian.com. So it's all kind of one grouping. You don't have to dig too hard to find them. We have the Facebook pages. They're broke up. Search for Spirits and Search for Sasquatch are both on there on Facebook. And then you have an email, Search for Spirits at zoho.com. And of course, I mean, word of mouth and the business card I think that you guys had. So
Fantastic. Well, as we close out today's episode, um, I want to thank you for taking the time to be part of our conversation. I truly do. Thank you so much. Whether you joined us live or listening back later, your time and attention truly does matter to us here at Darkwoods. And I want to give a special shout out to my UPS lady that helps me out every time I make a purchase at 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of dumb of them, and especially her daughter. So thank you for helping me out every time I make a stupid purchase. I appreciate that. If tonight's discussion sparked questions, curiosity, or reflections, we invite you to continue that conversation with us. You can learn more about our work, upcoming episodes, and investigations by visiting darkwoodsparanormal.com. Um, if you know someone who may be having experienced unexplained activity and is looking for thoughtful, respectful investigation, reach out to our guests or us. There's a lot of people out here to help you out, and we're not in it for the fame. We're actually in it to help. So keep that in mind. On behalf of everyone here at Darkwoods Paranormal, thank you for your trust, your curiosity, and your willingness to explore the unknown with an open mind. Stay until next time. Stay aware, stay curious, and above all, do stay safe out there. If you gentlemen don't mind just hanging back for a second, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.